The first and only story of today is about Alberta, Canada. The province had an election today, and it was projected that the Conservative Party would win, and that's exactly what happened. So in Canada, there are something called ridings. It's confusing. I don't know what you Canadians are up to, but I like the fact that you have more than two parties. I'm not the biggest fan of our two-party system, so you guys got more parties. And out of 87 ridings, it takes 44 needed for a majority government. And it looks like the UCP, or the United Conservative Party, got 63 so far. And the New Democratic Party, or the NDP, got 23. So they lost their seating. And I believe the Liberal Party, Justin Trudeau's party, has zero seats. And the reason that this is historical, it's still funneling in, but it seems like these results are pretty much permanent. We'll see in the morning exactly how it weighs out, but it looks like a big win for the United Conservative Party. This is history because it's the first time in Alberta that a party doesn't have a multiple term since, I don't know, I looked at least from the, I believe, 1940s, 50s, 60s, and so on. It was always at least 2 terms for each party whenever they gained power. And the NDP, this is the first time in, I guess, history that they didn't take a 2-term. Not them specifically, but whatever party was into power. I was reading up about the two parties, and it seems very similar to the dichotomy of the United States. The guy, his name is Jason Kenney, who is now going to be the Premier of Canada. He campaigned on a lot of stuff, pretty much anti-leftist stuff, similar to Trump, although I don't know his personality. I'm not going to say he's similar to Trump. But he's railing against higher taxes. It looks like he's trying to lessen regulations, and he's going against the minimum wage hike. And I also read that he's going against the LGBT movement, kind of, going into overdrive in schools, such as, I guess they passed something in Alberta or in Canada requiring principals to immediately grant student requests to form a gay-straight alliance, and making private schools have LGBTQ protection clauses and stuff. And I guess he was going against that, and people were not liking that. Here's the thing, I'm going to get right to it. So to people who are happy in Alberta, congratulations for getting your Conservative. To people who don't like this guy, or they don't like Conservatives, or they don't like right-wingers, Trump, Bolsonaro, Doug Fords, and Jason Kenney's, I think we really have to have an honest conversation about what's going on. I've been talking about it in Canada for a year now, because in Ontario, Doug Ford won, and there was a historic loss of the Liberal Party. I believe they got crushed so hard they had less seats than they've had in like 151 or 161 year their history. I don't remember the exact year, but pretty big, over 150 years. And then in Ontario, you had the other guy win. So Conservatives are having a huge wave in Canada going against not only the Liberal Party of Justin Trudeau. He's having a lot of scandals, even on the left. The left is not very united in Canada either. There's the NDP, which seems similar, correct me if I'm wrong, seem very similar to progressives and like Green Party, Bernie type people. And then you have the Liberal Party, and God knows what they're doing. They're just like, Justin Trudeau dresses up in Indian garb, and he's around a bunch of Indians in suits, and they're like, why are you dressing in Indian garb? He's like, oh, I love Indians. It's like, I get it, my man, but there is something called trying too hard, and I think Justin Trudeau does that even with women. The whole time he was like the feminist leader, just to have the bittersweet irony of having women turn against him and literally turn their backs to him in this whole Lavalin scandal or something. There's a lot of stuff going on, but overall, I know in America, and I'm guessing in Canada, we're tired of leaders who try to please everybody in the world except for one of their biggest bases. So, in Canada, it's like the dude Trudeau and NDP seems like they just pander so hard, and they call everybody. I read an article trying to say that the rise of the Conservatives in Canada has to do with white supremacists, and it's like, guys, there's only one party, at least in America, I don't know about in Canada, but I'm guessing not very many, that like low taxes. Regardless of my skin color, regardless of my religion or my ethnicity or my culture, as I grew older, even in general, I didn't understand taxes when I was younger, but once I realized what taxes are, it's the government taking my money. So I shared a Ron Paul quote, a Twitter quote earlier today, where he was saying we didn't used to have income tax for the first 100 or so years of the United States. I don't understand. I get it. Like, you take my money and then you say you build roads and give it to police and teachers and all this stuff, and it never happens. But I don't like taxes. So people are tired of being called white supremacists, especially when they're not even white. There's like black people being called that, but we like low taxes, and a lot of left-leaning people, such as the NDP, they raise certain taxes like 2-3%, and it's never really historically ever been popular. I don't know how to break it to leftists. Like, usually I'll have debates with them and they scream at me and say, no, we don't raise taxes. We don't raise tax. No, we don't. We're saving you money. We're saving you money. And like, they're screaming at me. And I'm like, listen, guy, the proof is in the pudding. I like people who are more libertarian leaning right off the bat. Like, I don't want to give the money I work for. I don't want to give 10%, 20%, 30%, 40%. I don't really want to give any of it to the government, but however much you make me give, I'm always going to probably vote for the person who steals less of my money. I'm sorry. So these are the conversations that we can't even have, because it's like they throw race on it, they throw gender, they throw LGBTQ, and then if you're like, I just want you to stay out of my life and stop stealing my money and acting like you're going to change the climate of the planet, which they're not doing. First of all, when it comes to climate and pollution, when it comes to India and China, between the two of them, they're polluting and putting more carbon in the air than so many other people. So if you really want to solve what you say you want to solve, you're not even doing that right. So it's like, we don't want a global tax. Yeah, you're going to, like in California, I'm sure it's probably similar in Canada, but correct me if I'm wrong, they have a gas tax. So not only is gas more expensive than it is anywhere else, but there's a tax on it. Under the NDP, they raised minimum wages, and a lot of Jason Kenney supporters, has nothing to do with race, religion, and gender. They just didn't want minimum wage being raised. And I've had this debate and argument or conversation a while. You can agree, you could like $15 or $25 an hour minimum wage, that's fine. But I'm sitting here telling you, as a small business owner myself and somebody who operates on solo, for me to hire somebody is very, very hard. So for me to have to pay someone $15 an hour is not easy. It sounds good, but when it's implemented, it usually crushes small businesses, mom and pop shops, family-owned restaurants, people who don't have all the money in the world to just dole out to, random low-skilled employees. That's just the law of the land, my mans. And, in Canada, it's not only higher taxes that are bothering people. It's not only more regulations that are bothering people. It's not only the minimum wage that's bothering a lot of people, but also this insane, what I would call cultural Marxism, if I'm still allowed to use that phrase. I know in the UK, they tried to tell conservatives that it's anti-Semitic for saying cultural Marxism. It's like, how is that anti-Semitic? First of all, I wasn't even saying it was Jewish, so it's like you're taking responsibility for it and saying I can't say it. Makes no sense. But anyway, the cultural Marxism, in a sense of like, I have no problem with LGBTQRSTLNE. I don't care what letter you are or what sexual affiliation you are. All jokes aside, I'm very supportive of everyone. But they're forcing it down people's throats to the fact where it's like, we must teach lesbian and gay sex education to like 12-year-olds. And it's like, just because I'm okay with them existing and not being persecuted, obviously, doesn't mean I'm okay with you forcing it into schools and private schools and saying that Christians can't practice their religion. Then you're bringing in other religions who hate gay people even more, and then if you mention them, they call you Islamophobic, where you've never seen me once bash Islam. I've only stood up for Islam when I felt like people are being rude, because I respect everyone's race, religion, and gender. However, the hypocrisy of these liberals and these progressives in Canada, who they hate their own people. They hate like Christians and Catholics and even, just white atheists, I'm sure, where they're like, no, you can't feel that way, but we're going to import a culture who treats gays 10,000 times worse than you do, and then we're going to serve as a protective shield of them and say, you can't criticize them, you can't talk about their ideology, you can't talk about their religion at all, but we're going to slowly crumble and destroy your religion and your ideology, and we're going to blame you based on your race and call you supremacist, but you're not allowed to have a conversation. Of course, to quote the late, great Cenk Uygur, of course. He always says, of course. Of course it's going to go conservative. I mean, you raise taxes, you raise minimum wage, you put all these crazy regulations so people can't make money in this desperate attempt to change the climate, where this climate change agenda is not going to age well between the sun, false data, the UN and the government manipulation of stuff, NASA admitting this year that although I agree we shouldn't be polluting the oceans, I think we use too much plastic. I think we're totally doing awful stuff with food industry and drug industry. I agree we shouldn't pollute so much. However, even NASA admits that these glaciers that they once said were melting and were never going to be there, they're not only there, but in some cases in Greenland and even in Antarctica, they're actually growing in many regions, and they can't figure out why, although they admit to you in their own data that they're only measuring the coastlines and they can't quite measure all the snow. And anybody with a brain understands that there's volcanoes. The earth is mostly ocean that we haven't explored. Between 80 and 95% unmapped. So that means more than half of our earth is literally unexplored if you weigh in the ocean. The sun sits up there. It's this huge thing that could solar flare, kill us in a second, or freeze us, put us in an ice age, which many think that we're leading towards, whether we like it or not. So all this stuff, it's like none of their ideologies are aging well. And my problem with it is not that they, in Alberta and others, that they don't want to agree with me. I don't want you to agree, but you can't shut down my conversation. You want to call me a bigot or a racist or a sexist or a xenophobe, and you want to say I hate gay people when it's not true, and you want to say I'm not an environmentalist when I am, and you want to censor people's speech, and they have all these crazy hate speech laws. It's like, of course Alberta is gonna swing right, just like Ontario swung right, just like Quebec swung right, just like when Trudeau's out, it's going to be a right-wing landslide, just like it was in 2016. And trust me, the most annoying part of this to me is I do think that there are liberal conversations that need to be had when it comes to regime change wars, when it comes to what Canada and the United States and Israel and Saudi Arabia and Yemen and Iran and Iraq, Afghanistan, Venezuela, all this stuff. I agree. I'm not going to say completely with liberals, but I think that liberals have an important conversation where they need to counter Trump and be able to speak against it. But we need to have these open forum discussions where it's like, this is why you think we should do this. This is why I think we should do this. Here, that's not what we have now. We have a mass media that's almost completely run by liberals and leftists. They hate everybody. They call everyone white supremacists. They think if you like low taxes and personal liberties and the Second Amendment and your anti-speech laws, they think you hate gays and transgenders and you hate everybody and you're racist. Like, it's not working. It's a horrible, horrible strategy. It's like talking down to like 75% of your nation, whether it's Canada or the United States, not even attempting to have a conversation with them, not even saying like, hey guys, why do you feel this way? How come you don't like the NDP? How come you don't like Justin Trudeau? What is it that you don't like about all these hate speech laws? There is no conversation like that. They say, if you disagree with us, you're horrible, you're racist, you're sexist, you're xenophobic. If this is your skin color, you're guilty regardless of what you feel. Bow down. We'll bring in another culture which treats gays worse in their countries when they have a majority of their religion. And that's no disrespect. I don't infringe upon their countries. Like, it's not my decision, how Brunei treats people. And I'm not saying I agree with it, but it's like, they're all mad. Like, celebrities are like, oh my goodness, they're persecuting gay people in this country and they own the Beverly Hills Hotel. I'm boycotting the Beverly Hills Hotel. It's like, where were you guys? Knock, knock. Where were you guys the past 10 years? That's how that religion feels in almost every majority country they have. And you're so gung-ho on self-hatred and hating your own country like Canada. It's like you're pandering to the rest of the world and not even realizing that Canada, the United States, and Europe are probably the three places where the LGBT community gets treated the best. Even in South America, it's not very popular. I mean, look at Bolsonaro. He's way more bullish against that stuff. So they always say, if you don't appreciate what you have, it's gone. And liberals and progressives, they not only don't appreciate what they have, but they don't want to have a conversation. They lie to themselves constantly on mass media. They tell themselves that they're so great and that anybody else is horrible. And I'm sorry to say, trust me, I'm not one to like let the right wing run rampant. I think the right wing lies in many ways, but I can't, just being honest with my personal perspective, you don't have to agree this way. When it comes to Canada and when it comes to the United States, there's really not much. As somebody who used to lean left, I can't think of very many things that the left wing is actually doing right. Like, it's easier for me. It's harder for me to point out, like, I don't even know what the left wing's doing right. I think they're wrong on taxes. I think they're wrong on regulations, even though I want to fix the environment. I think they're wrong on climate change. I think they're wrong on hate speech laws. I think they're wrong with this obsessive, psychopathic, like, feminist agenda that, to me, doesn't quash racism, sexism, or xenophobia. To me, it is increasing racism, sexism, and xenophobia, and it's also empowering the right. And you could not listen to me. You could think I'm crazy or mean or horrible, but this is going to keep happening. I mean, I'm not even remotely surprised that Alberta went right wing. Just like Quebec went right wing, just like Ontario went right wing. And trust me, when Trudeau's out, it's going to fly so far right, it's going to make your head spin and you're going to be confused. It's because you're not listening. You're freaking out about everything, and it's like really weird. I'll give you an example where I think right-wingers are doing a bad job, just so you can understand my thought process to why I feel this way and stop calling me and all my friends and all people who follow me all these crazy names. I've been critical of the right wing on how they're handling Ilhan Omar, and guess what happened? They don't listen to me. That's fine. I'm not their leader. But in general, she raised like $1 million, and everyone's like, "Oh my God, I wonder who funded it. I can't believe she raised $1 million." Of course she raised $1 million, guys. All you do is talk about Ilhan Omar and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. You made her more famous. You made her more rich. You gave her more victim cards. You put a bunch of videos on blast and made people defend her. You're making Ilhan Omar rich. Stop freaking out. And I mean, you could search where it's coming from, but that type of philosophy actually empowers Ilhan Omar. No one listens to me on the right. That's fine. You're making her rich. She's going to raise more money than anyone. She's raising more money than Pelosi, Schumer, all of them, because of right-wingers, not because of the left wing. It's all right-wing promotion and horrible, dealings with it. They're not effective. They're just yelling too much. Anyway, when it comes to the left wing, it's the same thing. Like, Trump won because you guys suck so much. I've never seen such a fail when it comes to media, celebrities, pop culture, pretty much every television station, all the musicians, like all the tech companies. It's literally insane. And it's pissing everyone off. It's pissing off people who voted. I guarantee you in Alberta, I know actually, there's people who've never voted conservative in their entire lives who are voting conservative now. Same with Trump. You have no idea how many people, two-time Obama voters, people who campaigned for Obama, people who voted for Trudeau. Even liberals don't like Trudeau anymore. I have liberal friends from Canada who don't trust or like him. Nothing you guys are doing makes sense. And that's why on the left, there is no unity. You have the establishment liberals like Justin Trudeau in Canada who are getting more and more unpopular by the day. And then you have the NDP, which seems like, correct me if I'm wrong, it seems a little bit more progressive as far as like, a little bit more leaning towards socialist. I'm not saying they are socialist, but this. And they're all fighting each other all the time, and they're not really united. And all conservatives are on the same page because their ideology just makes sense. Like, they're not freaking out over race, gender, religion, sexuality. They're not accusing everyone who disagrees with them of being white supremacists. They're not, making up this 20-year excursion on the climate that even NASA admits that it's not really quite adding up. Right-wingers, they agree because it's like, it's not. You can be black, you could be Hispanic, you could be Christian, you could be Jewish, you could be this, you could be that. As long as you buy into loving the country, loving your community, trying to lower crime, trying to keep more money in your pocket, trying to stop the government from stealing not only your money, but your personal liberties, your speech laws. If you buy into that ideology, you're welcome with open arms into the right wing of Canada. They don't care if you came from this country or that country. They don't care if you're a woman. There's no sexism. No one really cares. It's literally just like, do you not want to steal my money? Do you not want to, make all this crazy stuff happen? Can you just basically take care of yourself and stop stealing everyone's money? Okay, then you're welcome. The whole right is united in America too and all over the world because it's all based on like common sense, mutual beliefs. And the left wing has melted, guys, into identity politics. They're so far delusional. Trans, gay, this and no, you hate gays because you're not trans. You don't want them to play in the Olympics. You hate them. You don't want, guys, I don't have a problem with sexuality, but even for me, somebody who supported Obama under his term saying gay marriage, yeah, sure, I was pro-gay marriage. You're starting to annoy me, and it has nothing to do with your sexuality, has nothing to do with what partner you choose, has nothing to do with which gender you choose. If you want to change genders, that's not why you're annoying me. It's because it's the hate speech laws. It's the absolute insanity to be every bit as racist and sexist as you claim to be in others. It's like you can't even have a conversation anymore. They're talking about your race. I'm talking about taxes. I'm not even talking about race. Well, you're a white male. You're a this, that. The feminists in my country, and I'm sure in Europe, hate men more than any man I've ever. I don't know a single guy. I don't know a single conservative male who doesn't like women. Like, it doesn't exist. I mean, there's some people who believe in traditional roles. There's some libertarians who don't care what women do, and everybody in general, in Europe and in America and in Canada, even with a right-wing president, you can do whatever you want. You can march in the streets for a month wearing rainbow. You can do this. You can make television shows. No one cares, even with a right-wing president. Like, only in Europe and America and Canada. Like, no one cares. You could do all that stuff. That's not what's annoying everyone. It's the fact that you, like, in that movement, they just nonstop only talk about men and hate men and talk about the patriarchy and toxic masculinity and this and that. And it's like, is it projection tactics? Are you really trying to stop sexism? Or are you just like so ridiculously, like, men and women are different. Men are physically stronger, which is why transgenders shouldn't perform in the Olympics, I'm sorry, with women. But also, women have their own power. They have the power to birth a baby. They have feminine, divine energy. You know, there's things that women can do that men could never do, and that's awesome. And then there's things that men can do that women can't do, and that's awesome. You know, it's like men and women are different beings. They can be CEOs, they can be nurses, but to pretend like we're exactly the same thing is just dishonest. And that's the type of leftist stuff. There's multiple reasons that Alberta's going right-wing, and America's going right-wing, and Ontario's going right-wing, and Quebec's going right-wing. It's the social insanity. It's the cultural Marxism. It's the high taxes. It's the high regulations. It's the speech laws. It's the lack of personal liberties. It's the not understanding the philosophy of California. Although I love it, beautiful state, highest taxes, biggest economy as far as states go, most poverty, you know, homelessness spiraling out of control. They waste all of our money. The teachers aren't getting paid. It all goes hand in hand. Big government doesn't solve our problems, guys. Trump's not going to solve your problems. Trudeau's not going to solve your problems. The NDP's not going to solve your problems. The UCP's not going to solve the problems. But the reason that the UCP is winning, and the reason that Trump won, and the reason that Doug Ford won, is because some of their supporters do think they're going to save their whole lives, which is wrong. But a lot of us just realize they're going to stop the government from stealing. It's like, I don't expect Doug Ford to be my baby daddy. But it's like, at the same time, if I live in his district, it's like, well, maybe he's going to stop stealing my money. Maybe he's going to make my business taxes go down. Maybe he's going to make it so my kids could go to school and not grow up complete psychos. Like, maybe he's going to stop these hate speech laws so I don't get arrested for telling the truth. Maybe he's going to just take a little bit of that burden off my back so I can live. Like, we don't think it's going to change our whole lives. But Alberta, people are saying that Alberta's celebrating, I'm sure. And the reason I say this stuff is just so people consider it. And I'm honestly, guys, I know I've been busy recently, but also I've just been tapped out, to be honest. I've been a little stressed out, but also just I'm tapped out. I'm tired of, like, first of all, to be quite honest, now that I'm getting millions of views every week and stuff, I don't, like, imagine being at a table trying to eat dinner and having 10,000 people screaming at you constantly. That's what I feel like when I log into social media. Messages, like, I need to simplify my life, and I'm working on it. But in general, I'm tired of politics. It's like low energy crabs on both sides. People don't want to listen. People just want to scream and hate and fight. I don't really care. It's like, I appreciate what Trump's done. There's some things that he's not doing, and, you know, there's some things I'd like to see him have debates with Tulsi Gabbard on, but in general, it's like too much. And I'm appreciative that he's done more in 2 years than any president I've ever seen in my modern history. Like, he's already accomplished that. With Alberta and Canada and stuff, it's like, people will freak out at me like I'm doing all this stuff. I don't really care, guys. I'm not even from Canada. I don't live in Alberta. I've never been there. I don't, like, I'm just letting you know. I just thought maybe people want to know the truth. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. And maybe people want to be lied to by mass media. Maybe they want to sit in their little echo chambers and talk amongst themselves and scream at anybody who disagrees and constantly just be surprised at what's going on. Like, oh my God, what? Is the country getting run over by white supremacists and Nazis? No. Left-wingers suck. The Progressive Party is losing people. The Liberal Party is losing people. There's no unity there. There can't be unity there because it's not based on common sense, reality-based things like low taxes. It's all identity politics based. It's all based on victim mentality, a hierarchy based on race. I don't believe in a hierarchy based on race. I believe in work ethic, content of character, and the right to have the same rights as everybody. But you go on the left now, and it's like they have this weird victim hierarchy of like, no. her opinion matters, and you owe her money because of her past, even though your family had nothing to do with it, and your conversation doesn't matter, and your perspective and your wisdom doesn't matter because of your gender. And it's like, that's not what Martin Luther King wanted. That's not what I want. That's not what Alberta wants. They want low taxes. They want personal liberty. They want this cultural Marxist, crazy far leftist stuff that just keeps boiling in on its own delusion. And really at the core of it, when you strip away what it is, I get what you're trying to do, and I think it's very, very virtuous, but it's become not so loving anymore. It doesn't come off to a lot of people, including myself, as very loving. It comes off as very anti your own country. Like, you hate your own people, you hate your own country, you hate the principles your country was founded on, and you're so desperate to hate on that you're running around the world pandering to anybody, to the point where Trudeau even pandered to ISIS. Like, I'm not even exact. Like, I said this months ago and years ago, and like, well, actually, I've been talking about our relationship to these terrorist groups for 10 years, but that's a side note. But I was like, guys, Trudeau is so desperate to counter conservatives and their what he would consider bigotry, and in some cases I would agree, in many cases I wouldn't, that he's willing to bring ISIS fighters back to Canada. Like, that's crazy, guys. I don't care if you're liberal or progressive, that's crazy. Let's look at our newspapers here. I'm not joking. You look at mainstream news, and they're telling us that we should bring ISIS members back to the United States and Canada and Britain because we should feel bad for them because they're just women and children just like me and you. Like, what? I mean, it's like, do you think that's going to win you Alberta? You're like, no, we hate Trump and conservatives, so we're going to start pandering to ISIS. If you're standing up for good Muslim people, that's fine. But if you're so desperate to just be the opposite of conservatives that you're willing to, like, do everything wrong under the sun, you're going to lose really hard. And trust me, there's a lot of people who don't even like everything Trump does, but they're going to vote for him again because it's like Trump, and then God knows who the left wing's going to vote. I mean, the only adult, someone said this on Twitter, the only adult on the left wing is like pretty much Tulsi Gabbard. I mean, there's some other ones that have their moments, but it's like, it's a bunch of children who are just like hysterically screeching and screaming and hating on it's like so annoying. And I'm not gonna lie. There's some things that Trump's been doing that's been annoying me too, but it's night and day between him and other people. Like, if you keep giving me these two options, I'm always going to choose that one because they're keeping, at least a little bit of taxes and insanity off my back. But overall, let me know what you guys think if you're from Alberta and from Canada, because I can only make the correlations from here. But it's going all over the world, really. It happened in Brazil. It's happening here. It's happening in Italy. It's even happening in Germany and Sweden, just not completely yet. But everything's shifting right. Like, from left to right, the shift right has been enormous, from Trump to Bolsonaro to Canada to even Europe. It's going right, and it's not hard to see why. It's because left-wing, mass refugee immigration, and I'm willing to talk about the wars. I know I always get yelled at. People are like, what about, I get it. Trust me, I've called out Hillary Clinton, I've called out Obama, I've called out Trump, but I'm talking about most people. They care about their daily life. And when you infringe on their daily life off of these wars and all this stuff that they have no part of, nobody wants this stuff, and then you screw up 1,000,000 times, and then you say, all right, let's bring 1,000,000 people here, and let's raise the wages, and let's give everyone health care, and let's do this and do that. And the people who are tax-paying citizens in this country and in Canada are sitting here just getting screwed left and right on every angle. People are going to get sick of it. And in Europe, it's like, 10 churches were desecrated in the last month, and the news is like, oh, we don't know what's going on. It's like, they play stupid. And I'm not one to like pander and bring this stuff up, but a guy threw a little boy off of a building or off the Mall of America in I almost said Somalia, in Minnesota in America. And Reuters, which is supposed to be the breaking news, unbiased news, they said, boy falls, man arrested, boy falls. That's like saying JFK takes a nap and, guy in bushes gets arrested. Like, tell us what happened. JFK got assassinated. The boy got thrown off. Like, it's a black man and a white kid. So Reuters says, okay, he just fell. Whereas if it was the other way around, there'd be 3 months of insane protests and riots and people on television telling us how racist everyone is. And trust me, I'm willing to have these conversations. When something happens at a mosque, I'm willing to talk about it. Let's talk about white supremacists. I'm not shying away from that conversation. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about why that's building. Let's talk about what's going on. And when you get to the core of it, you'll find out that there's different cultures, there's different ideologies, there's people who feel different ways. We're very divided. And the great part about the world was, at one point, although I think it got better, is in America and in, I'm sure, Canada, in the provinces, you don't have to do what everyone else is doing. Like Texas shouldn't be like California, shouldn't be like Idaho. We're supposed to be different. Islam is not supposed to be like a Christian nation or a Protestant nation, whatever you want to call it. You know, it's okay to be different. It's okay to have different ideologies. But when you just start bringing people together and not doing it in a proper way, in America, we've always had immigration, and it's worked great because when people came here and when people came to Canada, they bought into the system. I'm glad to be here. I love Canada. I have pride in my own people where I'm from, but I'm buying into it. But when you start mixing in, you know, millions of illegal immigrants and millions of mass refugees and all of these people where you're not properly vetting, and a lottery system where instead of taking merit-based and making sure they're the best people, you just roll the dice and bring in people, you're going to start, and to be honest, I'm not even going to blame refugees and illegal immigrants because it's not even, I wouldn't even say their fault mostly. It's the mass media who's convincing them to hate the country that they come to. That was never an American thing. You'd get here and you'd have American pride, maybe to a fault. Now it's like they're pumping up the people that they bring here with anti-American hate and Canada hate, and they're telling them to hate the population. They bring them here, and then they say, these people hate you, and they want you to die because they want low taxes. And then they shake up, and then they're like, why is everyone mad at each other? Why are churches burning? Why is crime going up? Why are taxes going up? I don't understand. The mass media is literally evil. Like they're not doing what the left wants. Progressive left-wing people don't like the media. They're clearly not doing what the right wing wants. They're not doing what any religion really wants that I know of. It's like all lies. It's all just screw it all up. It's okay, obviously, for people to mix of different races and religions and genders. That's awesome. If you hold the core principles of your country like Trump's trying to do. He's definitely not perfect. I have my critiques of him, but like, have borders. Have laws. And they're like, no laws, until he says that they go to their country, state, and they're like, oh no, we don't want to do that, even though that's the law, the sanctuary law we put in. They're goofy, guys, and it's like a stubborn thing. What used to annoy me about the right wing was they used to be stubborn, and they'd never and the right wing was very stubborn. Now the left wing has become every bit, if not more, stubborn, and it's annoying. I could talk about this all day. But in general, I don't want you to agree with me. You can counter points and say other things, talk about wars, talk about Trump, talk about whoever, that's fine. But in general, if you don't even consider what I'm saying, if you don't consider it, I'm not just speaking for myself. Like, yes, it's just me here, but there's hundreds of millions, if not billions now, of people who feel just like I'm explaining, and I know how to explain it in a way that, you know, some people don't have the time, or they don't really care. They don't sit on social media and make videos like I do. Honestly, I don't even want to do it anymore. This isn't even that fun for me. I'm sorry, guys. I'm not trying to be a buzzkill, but like these last 2 weeks have been awful. And I'm just like realizing all these people, and I'm like, is this my life now? Am I going to have to constantly just deal with like psychotic people from every angle? If that's the case, I want to smash my cell phone and live on an island, which I'm not going to do. I'm going to stream tomorrow. But in general, just consider what I'm saying, because it's very, very real. And the crazy thing about reality is just because you ignore it, it's not going to shift. Like, it's not like, all right, well, we're not going to listen to Anomaly. We're going to keep being psychos, and we're going to keep like doing this stuff. It's only going to work in right-wingers' favors. So it's like right-wingers with Ilhan Omar. It's like, if you want to make her famous and rich, yeah, keep doing that. If you want to stop her, that's not how you do it. You don't want to listen to me? That's fine. It's all going to happen anyway. Same with the left wing. Like, if you want to embolden the right wing, keep acting like Trudeau, or keep acting like the NDP, and keep acting like CBC and CBS and all these, news stations. I don't really care. You're only really strengthening what I want, which is lower taxes. So, overall, like, that's my one. And I'm interested in the wars and stuff. I'll talk about that for another time. But yeah, Alberta went right wing, Quebec went right wing, Canada's going right wing. Once Trudeau, I guarantee you it's going to be a landslide for conservatives in Canada. It's happened in the U.S. It's not slowing down. And I wish it would. I wish the left wing was like rational and listened to like 1/5 of what I said so they can get better and stop being so crazy. And it's like, if you have a group of 500 people and you just look at like 300 of the 500 and call them names and hate on them based on their race and gender, and then you wonder why you're not winning elections, it's because right off the bat, you're isolating like 70% of your potential voters and calling them all these names, and then you're never gonna win. It just doesn't make sense. But have fun with that. God bless you guys. Yeah, it's not changing. Congrats to Alberta if you're happy. If not, get a grip. Thank you guys for listening. I want to say, pinned to the top, I have my supporter thing tomorrow. We're gonna have a live stream with supporters only. It's gonna be fun and chill. I appreciate you guys putting up with my last 2 weeks. It's been a little hectic. But yeah, supporter live stream for supporters only tomorrow. We're going to chat for an hour or so, maybe probably longer, at 6:30 Pacific Standard Time, 9:30 Eastern Standard Time. If you're Mountain or Central, figure it out. I can't do the math right now. But come join. The supporter thing's pinned to the top. So if you are already a supporter, thank you. I'll see you tomorrow. If not, it's all good. And if you don't want to do that, it's okay. I'm still going to do a lot of videos. I've just been I have to regroup, guys, because I hit a wall, which was natural. I was making like 15 videos a week for like 2 years. I like literally never stopped. I'm taking a break soon and taking a vacation. But in general, I just hit a wall recently. And I'm like trying to figure out where to go because I'm getting yelled at by literally everyone. And I'm a simple person. I'm a very calm. I don't even like politics. Like, I don't feel like getting blamed for everything Trump does. Well, look what Trump did here. I didn't even vote for the guy. I just sat on my couch and told the truth, which obviously is a revolutionary thing nowadays because everyone's such liars. So I'm trying to figure out what I want to do and how I want to do it because I'm not going to obviously stop. But I'd be lying if I told you it wasn't getting overwhelming, where it's like Twitter, Instagram, like everybody, everything, all the time. I mean, I'm trying to figure out how to handle it and what I can do. Or if I just have to accept this, and this is my life now, and I'm just going to have to trek through a fire while every day it's like literally hell is burning around me. If I have to do it, I'll do it. I'm just trying to really plan and figure it out because, yeah, it's not been a fun 2 weeks. I haven't even said everything that's happened, but, you know, it's all good. It could always be worse, and I'm still very grateful and appreciative for everything, but it's like I'm trying to figure out, like, do I want to get bigger? Because, of, like, is it just going to get worse and worse and worse and worse and worse and crazier? Or is that just the way the world is? Am I, like, you get what I'm saying? I got annoyed with the media, and I started telling what I felt was the truth, and I started doing journalism. And by a mistake, I put myself as like a leader, I guess, or like a key figure in what I would consider is like a soft civil war and like a global war between psycho, narcissist, like power hungry people who I want nothing to do with, honestly, from either side. I see the flaws in the left and the right. They're both really annoying to me half the time. I'm not saying the people, you guys are awesome, but like the leadership is just annoying sometimes. And the whole world game of like wars and crazy events and bombings and, it's like, it's exhausting. It's exhausting. And I'm trying to figure out how to do this long term. You know what I'm saying? I'm fine. I'm just like, I hit a wall recently. But like I said, it's meant to happen because I've been like I would make like 5 videos a day sometimes or 3 videos. It couldn't last forever, so I got to figure it out. God bless you guys. God bless Canada. God bless America. God bless the world, and God bless Alberta. This is just gonna keep happening. So it's like I wish people would just consider it. Thank you, Keith. I appreciate it, but it is what it is. I'll say a prayer just like I did yesterday for everybody and myself and the world. We're gonna need it, because what's happening, and then I'm really going to leave, is there's a lot of lies, and a lot of people know it. Left-wing people know it, right-wing people know it. These lies are so deeply embedded in culture and mass media and education. It's like they're like leeches, and the light has been shown on these demons one way or another, either metaphorically or literally, depending how you want to take it. And people are starting to remove these leeches from our society, and they're screaming bloody murder. So it's like, that's like what's happening on a metaphorical level. And it's only going to keep happening because they're not supposed to be there in the first place. So as it's happening, like, it seems like the whole world is collapsing because it's all a lie, and they can't admit it's a lie. And some people are confused, and even I'm confused about certain things. I'm like, what the heck is going on? But that's what's kind of going on. So it's like, I don't know that it's going to get better before it gets weirder. And I say that in an optimistic way. It's because, like, everything that needs to happen to have a sane functioning society, education system needs to be changed. Mass media needs to be completely crumbled in a metaphorical sense and rebuilt completely different. The movie industry is awful. The television industry is awful. The tech companies are totally delusional. Like, there's not really a power structure that influences human minds besides individuals like myself that isn't completely insane, psychotic, and like inverted in reality. So I don't know what they think they're going to do, but it's like, as they lose, they're like the wicked witch of the West that's like burning. Like, you pour water on them and they just scream bloody murder for like 15 years. Like, this isn't what I want to deal with, but I'm sure this is not what you guys want to deal with either. It's like, just leave us the F alone, you know? Just go away. Take your money, take all your power, enjoy your life. Just stop screwing up Canada and the United States and everything. Just like, stop. It's like psychos that are just screaming. They're like harpies on an island, like, "Ah!" And then like you close your ears and they try to take your hands off your ears and be like, why don't you listen to me scream? And you like close your ears and they're like, why don't you? They're like, that's their strategy for everything. It's like, if you correct anything they're doing wrong, they just scream bloody murder and try to ruin your life. But you know, we're protected. We're blessed out here. God bless you guys. God bless Canada. Congrats, and thanks for listening to me. Someone said, how many times do you rewatch your videos? Most of the time, 0. But sometimes I re-listen to make sure it's okay. But think about how exhausting that would be if I listened to like an hour video. That's crazy. But I do sometimes to try to hear it. I listen to other people too. Have a good one, guys. Take care.